And I will be a guest on your show tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
And we will be interviewing a gentleman who is running against Stephen Holden, I believe his name is.
His name is.
Yep. And he will be running against Elise Stefanik in New York, which is obviously a race that the Democrats would love to win.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I would like to talk to him about too, and one thing you and I talk about all the time, is this messaging. And it's always being blamed on Democrats that they don't message well. I contend that the messaging on the other side is so much stronger because they are messaging to a group of people who will accept whatever they say.
Correct.
The Democrats and CNN and NBC, they're not going to be accepted by whatever they say, even though they probably should be accepted more than the other side.
Right. And that makes sense, right? Because the Republicans aren't diverse. It's one mind, one brain cell, one thought process. They all think alike. So it's easier, like you said, to put a message to them. They don't question it. They just run with it. It doesn't matter. Like none of it matters. The truth doesn't matter to them. You could put out a lie. They won't Google it. Whereas, like you said, Democrats can't just tell us anything because we're going to be like,
research it more.
I
do it all the time. I swear, if I see something through Twitter or Facebook, whatever it is, and it looks positive for the Democrats or something that I want to use as a case point or whatever it is, I don't just go, oh, blah, 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 that's it. I research it more just to make sure that what I'm saying is not right. And I'm not saying everything that comes out of my mouth is 100% correct. I would say it's probably 98%. Mine
either.
Yeah. No, but you know, it's just this whole idea of messaging we've talked about this a lot of times, and it really does get frustrating because everybody's like, I don't know what to do. What do we do? What do we do? And there's nothing you can do because you have a side that will believe no matter what. It doesn't matter, even if you present facts. I'm going to give an example. The Washington Post just recently put out a difference between the economy and everything between Biden and Trump. And I made a comment on it, and surprisingly got a lot of, people were talking about it. But one of the things that's in my industry, they're talking about the housing prices and they're talking about the interest rates. Well, they talked about the interest rates and how the interest rates have doubled, maybe tripled since Joe Biden took office. But what they didn't say is why. And I went through the whole reason as to why. And the only response you get from Trump supporters is you have TDS, which is that stupid Trump derangement syndrome or whatever the fuck it is. And look, some guy even actually responded and said, your response would be a little bit better if you'd go point by point on how he's wrong, but all you're saying is TDS. And that's all you say. And that's all they do because they don't know what to say back.
Right. Because partly they don't understand it. It's just like, the interest rates are high. Biden sucks. And it's like, well, yeah, he had to put interest rates up to slow down the fucking inflation on fucking fire. We had to slow it down so we didn't go into a recession. Like that's one of the biggest things that drives me crazy. In fact, Donald Trump, I think he was in one of his rallies the other day talking about, when I was president, a mortgage would be on a whatever priced home would be $1,300. Now it's $1,800, but it doesn't even matter. You can't get the money from the bank anyway. And that's not true. Nobody was buying any houses during the fucking pandemic. Like, of course. It was like,
well, I will say during the pandemic.
Did people buy houses?
Oh, it was exploding. And the reason why, it was exploding all over the place. And the reason why is because the interest rates were at 2.6%. So they found a way. They're like, I don't.
But that makes and that's the thing that makes a recession, right? Like when, like that's dangerous.
Well, that was one of my points too, and we've made it on this show before. Is that if you look back, the Federal Reserve during the Trump administration, even though Trump's not responsible for the Federal Reserve and they work independently of Donald Trump, they're supposed to, and in that instance, maybe they didn't, because I do recall Donald Trump basically saying the feds need to lower the rates. Feds need to lower the rates.
Right.
And in hindsight, it turns out that it was not the best idea,
Right.
because we did not necessarily need it to go all the way down that low. Because now all of a sudden it has just created a inventory problem, because you have a bunch of people who won't sell their homes because they're under a 2% interest rate. Why would they sell their home at 2% versus something that now is coming down? By the way, we're getting back into the sixes, and we do see we do expect to see 3 rate cuts in the next year. So, but anyway, that just goes back to the point, though, of just the Trump people believing that, and even just the average person who doesn't really look into this that much think, well, gosh dang, the interest rates were better during Trump. I got to admit that. And you're just like, no, but you don't understand why. And the fact that you have even a periodical like the Washington Post not clearly explaining why is disappointing. Right.
Totally agree. Totally agree. It's like they're not doing their due diligence. It's like they're playing a part in like misinformation.
Yeah, and that's what it is. A misinformation, whatever.
Right. I'm like, is it disinformation? Like, did they do it purposely? I don't.
Yeah, and that's disappointing, and it's I even see it on just clips from the other news networks that are not Fox News or not Newsmax. I think I saw a clip today where they were praising the insulin prices starting today will be going down to $35 for seniors. And not once during the story on CNN, and the person that was talking about it with the anchor on CNN, not once did they mention that was because of Joe Biden. Not once.
And that's the problem, right? Exactly. And they never do. Local either, because local news has talked about the insulin prices going down. But you're right. It doesn't say, the Biden administration fought for this.
Yeah.
They
in the Inflation Reduction Act is the reason why insulin now is $35. They did not mention it once. You know who they praised? The fucking pharmaceutical companies. What are you, fucking nuts? They can't stand that insulin is $35 a month. See, that's what just makes me so fucking angry. And because of shit like that, this gives a guy with 91 felony counts, who's a clear racist, who's a clear bigot, who's a clear a person who sexually assaults women, could possibly win the presidency. And this is insanity. This is fucking nuts.
Should not even be close.
No.
Shouldn't even be a thought. No one out here should be like, I'm not sure. Like, that just shouldn't be.
How about when they say this is, well, gosh, I don't know who to pick, and I might sit this one out because I don't know who the lesser of both evils are. I'm like, how the fuck do you compare Joe Biden being an evil person to Donald Trump, who clearly is an evil person?
Right.
And he's a fucking moron.
Right. And even if you didn't know about insulin, even if you didn't know about broadband being put up in your bridges and where all of that work is coming, even if you didn't know that, even if you put these two old people side by side, you gotta fucking know that one is a raving fucking lunatic, right? Yep. And one, you gotta create AI fucking fake videos of him like touching children to make him seem like he's evil, because on his face, he's just an old man just trying to put the work